Marcus Reed was 29 years old, and man, life had always treated him like the unwanted stepchild. Born and raised in the gritty, unforgiving streets of Baltimore, Marcus learned early on that life wasn't about fairy tales and sunshine. No, it was more like dodging bullets, stepping over needles, and learning to survive on cynicism and sheer spite. His mama, Alice, was 55 and tougher than a $2 steak. She worked herself to the bone, pulling double shifts just to make sure Marcus and his younger brother Jaden, who'd just turned 18, had food on the table and a roof over their heads. Marcus always felt that burden, heavy as hell, but he carried it proudly, wanting to make her proud. Marcus had managed, against all odds, to claw his way out of that cesspool. He graduated college, got himself a decent 9-to-5 job, and damn near believed that life might finally cut him a break. But oh no, life had other plans. Plans written in bold letters. Welcome back to hell, Marcus. One rainy evening, while walking home from work, Marcus saw two white cops going at it on a young black kid. The poor kid was barely conscious, taking hits like a punching bag. Marcus wasn't the hero type. Hell, he barely wanted to be involved in anyone else's business. But that night, something in him snapped. Before he knew it, he was yelling at the cops, trying to pull them off. Big mistake. Before Marcus could say, "What the hell was I thinking?" he was face down on the wet pavement, handcuffs cutting into his wrists, being charged with resisting arrest. And that's how Marcus ended up in the most infamous hellhole in Latin America, CECOT prison. Now, if you've never heard of CECOT, consider yourself lucky. Built in 2023 in El Salvador, this place made Alcatraz look like a vacation resort. Surrounded by 12-meter-high concrete walls topped with electrified barbed wire, it housed the most dangerous criminals on this side of the hemisphere, gang leaders, mass murderers, and apparently guys like Marcus who just tried to do the right thing at the wrong damn time. Inside, the place was worse than Marcus imagined. Cells had no windows, just cold concrete walls and steel bunks that looked like they were designed by Satan himself. Prisoners were crammed in like sardines. No privacy, no humanity, just a bunch of caged animals waiting for the slightest chance to rip each other apart. The guards? A lovely mix of sadistic ex-military types who enjoyed their jobs a little too much. His first encounter was with Sergeant McCoy, a 45-year-old guard who looked like he'd been chewing on rusty nails for breakfast. The guy had a permanent sneer and eyes that screamed trouble. McCoy sized Marcus up with disgust and smirked. "Well, look what the cat dragged in. Fresh meat for the grinder. Welcome to CECOT, sweetheart. I hope you're ready, cause here, even the cockroaches ask for mercy." Marcus stared back, silent but defiant. He wasn't about to give this bully the satisfaction of seeing fear, but deep inside his stomach was tied in knots. He knew these types. They lived to break men down, piece by piece. They tossed him into a cell already packed with tattoo-covered inmates who looked like they'd kill you just for looking at them funny. One guy, a towering brute nicknamed Butcher, covered in scars and ink from head to toe, grinned like Christmas came early. Well, well, boys," Butcher laughed, eyeing Marcus. "Looks like they served us a fresh one. What's your story, pretty boy? Caught stealing flowers for your mama?" Marcus didn't flinch, meeting his gaze straight on. "Nah, they got me for trying to stop two pigs from beating a kid to death. Guess I forgot that's a crime now." Butcher threw his head back, roaring with laughter. "Oh man, we got ourselves a comedian. Listen, hero, this ain't the place for good Samaritans. Here, nice guys finish dead." Marcus smiled bitterly, shaking his head. "Well, I ain't dead yet. Maybe I'll disappoint you." Butcher's laughter stopped cold, replaced by a stare that could freeze lava. "Watch your mouth, son. This place breaks tough guys for fun. I've seen better men than you beg for mercy before breakfast." Marcus just shrugged, hiding the dread clawing at his insides. Yeah, things were bad. Worse than he imagined. But he knew he had to hold on. His mind flashed to his mama and brother. They were counting on him, waiting for him to make it home. That alone made him stubborn as hell. As he sat on the cold steel bunk, Marcus listened to the chaotic sounds of CECOT, screams, banging metal, guards shouting. He thought bitterly to himself, "Welcome home, Marcus. Life threw you into the biggest dumpster fire possible, and here you are, trying not to get burned." But Marcus had no clue just how fast things were about to change, because in just 10 short minutes, every single jerk in that prison was about to discover exactly who Marcus Reed really was. And oh boy, were they in for the shock of their miserable lives. Marcus barely had time to settle into his own personal nightmare before things escalated real damn quick. Less than 10 minutes into pondering how the hell he ended up in this godforsaken cesspool, the cell door swung open with a bang. Sergeant McCoy stood there, looking meaner than a rattlesnake with a toothache, flanked by two other guards built like brick walls. Marcus knew that look. Trouble was about to hit the fan, big time. "On your feet, hero," McCoy barked. grabbing Marcus by the collar and yanking him up. "We got a little welcoming party planned just for you." Marcus stumbled into the corridor, flanked by guards who shoved him around like a rag doll. His heart pounded in his chest, anger boiling just beneath the surface. They marched him into a big, dimly lit hall that smelled like sweat, despair, and things better left unsaid. A few guards stood in a circle, sneering like wolves waiting for dinner. Alongside them were select prisoners, the kind who'd likely earned the honor by being model snitches or thugs favored by the system. "Well, looky here," McCoy announced, shoving Marcus forward into the center. "We got ourselves a real-life savior, boys. Thinks he's some kind of hero stepping in to stop the cops from doing their job." A guard behind Marcus swung a baton, landing a solid blow across his back. The pain shot through him like lightning, making him gasp, but Marcus refused to cry out. Instead, he twisted his lips into a bitter smirk and said, "Is that all you got, tough guy? My grandma hit harder than that, and she's been dead 10 years. The guards burst into laughter, but McCoy turned crimson, eyes burning like hot coals. "You think you're funny, boy? You'll regret ever opening that smart mouth." Marcus straightened himself up, his body screaming in protest, but his pride wouldn't let him stay down. "Regret? Man, I regret a lot of things. But standing up for a kid getting beaten half to death by two trigger-happy cowboys ain't one of them." McCoy's face twisted into a mask of fury. "You little punk. I'll make you wish you'd never been born." Marcus shot back without missing a beat. "Too late, pal. Already had that thought the moment I saw your ugly mug." The room grew tense, guards exchanging nervous glances. McCoy wasn't used to being challenged, especially not by someone he considered beneath him. Marcus knew he was poking a bear, but at this point he was past caring. He figured if he was going down, he might as well go down swinging. McCoy stepped closer, grabbing Marcus by the shirt. "I'm gonna break you, kid. When I'm done, you'll be begging me for mercy." Marcus glared back, his voice dripping sarcasm. "Begging you? Sorry, I got standards." The guards chuckled again. Even prisoners exchanged amused looks. McCoy's eyes narrowed to dangerous slits, his grip tightening. "You don't know who you're messing with. I run this place. I decide who lives and who ends up buried under the floor." Marcus met his gaze head-on, feeling his pulse racing, anger and adrenaline mixing in a dangerous cocktail. "Run this place? Looks like this place runs you. How's it feel, huh? Being the biggest rat in the sewer?" That did it. McCoy lost it, his fists clenching as he drew back his baton. "You've got a death wish, Marcus Reed, and I'm going to grant it." But before he could deliver another blow, the hall doors burst open with a crash. The room went quiet as everyone turned to see who'd interrupted McCoy's personal torture session. Standing there was the warden, Mr. Donahue, a man in his early 50s who rarely stepped out of his air-conditioned office unless things had gone nuclear. And by the look on his face, the bomb had just dropped. "What the hell is going on here?" Donahue thundered, striding into the room like an angry bull. McCoy spun around, looking stunned and irritated. "We're just disciplining a prisoner, sir." Donahue's eyes widened, furious and frantic at the same time. "Disciplining? Are you out of your goddamn mind? Do you even know who this is?" McCoy frowned, confused. "He's nobody. Just some street punk." Donahue stepped closer, speaking through clenched teeth, loud enough for everyone to hear. "This nobody is Marcus Reed. His brother just leaked a video to the press, footage of you and your cop buddies beating the hell out of that kid. It's gone viral. CNN, NBC, everyone's all over it. This nobody just became our biggest nightmare." The room was suddenly so silent you could hear a pin drop. Guards exchanged nervous glances. Prisoners shifted uneasily. McCoy looked like someone had just punched him in the gut, his face turning ghost white. Marcus felt a surge of grim satisfaction as he saw the realization dawn on McCoy's face. He'd just screwed up royally. Marcus couldn't resist twisting the knife just a bit further. "Well, ain't karma a beautiful thing?" McCoy spun back around, face contorted in panic and rage, shouting, "You did this! You and your filthy family! You'll what?" Marcus interrupted coldly. "Beat me some more? Kill me? Go ahead, tough guy. You already dug your own grave." McCoy lunged at Marcus in blind fury, but before he reached him, the sharp crack of a gunshot echoed through the hall. Everyone froze. McCoy crumpled to the ground, clutching his bleeding leg. Donahue stood with his pistol raised, his hands shaking, eyes wide in disbelief at what he'd just done. "That's enough!" Donahue yelled, breathing hard. "Guards, take Reed out of here, now!" As they escorted Marcus out, he cast one last look at McCoy, now lying helpless on the floor. Marcus smirked bitterly. "Enjoy your new life, Sergeant. I hear inmates love cops." The door slammed shut behind him, leaving chaos in his wake. Marcus knew things were far from over, but at least now everyone knew he wasn't just some helpless victim. He'd stirred the hornet's nest, and damned if he wasn't ready for what came next. Marcus was standing there, adrenaline pumping, heart racing like a freight train. McCoy looked like he'd seen a ghost after Donahue dropped that bombshell about the viral video. The room fell dead silent, tension thicker than a Texas barbecue sauce. "You gotta be kidding me," McCoy muttered, face draining of color. Donahue shook his head, eyes blazing. "Wish I was. CNN's having a field day. You're officially public enemy number one." Marcus couldn't resist twisting the knife. "Well, ain't that poetic justice? Looks like your dirty laundry's airing on national TV. Enjoy the spotlight, Sergeant." McCoy snapped like a twig. He lunged at Marcus, screaming, "You ruined my life, you little punk!" Marcus braced himself. But before McCoy got close, a loud bang echoed through the room. McCoy hit the floor, clutching his leg and howling like a wounded animal. Donahue stood there, pistol smoking, shaking hands betraying his panic. "That's enough!" Donahue shouted, breathing hard. "Get Reed out of here, now!" As Marcus was hustled out, he shot one last sarcastic remark at McCoy. "Have fun in general population, tough guy. I hear they love ex-cops." Outside the room, the reality hit Marcus hard. He'd just stirred up a hornet's nest. The guards looked nervous. Inmates watched him like he'd just become the biggest story in town. Marcus knew he was far from safe, but damn, it felt good to see those cocky guards sweating bullets for once. Just as he thought things couldn't get crazier, Donahue grabbed his arm, voice low and urgent. "Listen, kid. You've just kicked open Pandora's box. There are powerful people who won't take this lightly." Marcus smirked bitterly. "Story of my life. But hey, if they want me, they'll have to get in line." Marcus sat in a small, dimly lit office, trying to catch his breath. Adrenaline still pulsing like a high-voltage wire. The chaos outside was muffled but unmistakable. Guards shouting, radios squawking. Donahue paced nervously, looking like a man who'd just gambled and lost big. "You stirred up a real storm, kid," Donahue said, wiping sweat from his brow. "Your brother just put a big old target on all our backs." Marcus chuckled dryly. "Good. Maybe now folks will see the cesspool you've been running. You're scared? Imagine how I felt walking into this hellhole." Donahue shook his head, exasperated. "Listen, it's bigger than me, you, or McCoy. Powerful people don't like it when their dirty laundry hits prime time." Marcus leaned back, eyes burning with defiance. "Yeah? Well, maybe it's time they learned actions have consequences." Just then, the door burst open. A guard ran in, face pale. "Sir, reporters are gathering outside. The governor's office just called. They're demanding answers." Donahue looked at Marcus, eyes wide with panic. Marcus smiled coldly. "Looks like the chickens have come home to roost, Warden." Donahue pointed a shaky finger at Marcus. "You better watch your back, Reed. You've made enemies today, powerful enemies." Marcus stood up, unshaken. "Been making enemies all my life, Warden, but this time maybe they'll finally realize they messed with the wrong man." As he stepped out, escorted by nervous guards, Marcus felt a strange sense of triumph. He knew this wasn't over, not by a long shot, but damn if it wasn't good to finally shake the foundation of a broken system. For once, he wasn't running from trouble, he was walking straight into it, head held high.